Event travel is back. I am headed to Tokyo in the middle of July, so I thought an interesting video for today would be to talk about how photographers think about and shoot events at the Olympic Games. So let's gear up and get started. Hey everyone, I am Jerry Lai and welcome back to my sports photography channel. For those of you joining me for the very first time, I currently serve as the Director of Content and Photography at USA Today Sports. I have been fortunate enough to have been in the photojournalism industry for the past 17 years. And my goal for the channel is to help you become a better sports photographer. If you think that I can help you out, hit the like button and subscribe. I will be the very first to admit that I have been incredibly fortunate in my photography career. Even though I have not yet turned 40, the Tokyo Olympics will be my 7th Olympic Games. So how exactly did I get my foot in the door to cover the Olympics? Well, I'll tell you, and it's because 我会说中文, language skills. You see, I am fluent in Mandarin, and back in 2008, when I worked for a much smaller wire service, the Beijing 2008 roster consisted of just 3 photographers. The first 2 photographers selected to go were well established, but the third spot was going to be a bit of a wild card. So I'm not going to lie, I really plugged my language skills hard, and it was a deciding factor in getting me that third spot. And you know, I've never pulled my foot out of that door since. Now, my role in what I actually do at the Olympics has evolved over the years, but today I want to talk about the mindset that photographers covering the games need to have when they shoot sports. And that's because, quite honestly, some of the Olympic sports are really freaking weird. And it is not in the least bit unusual for photographers to show up to an Olympic event having never ever photographed it before. So how can they possibly pull that off? Simple. By drawing on their vast experience and think about what has worked for them in other sports. In other words, having great knowledge and fundamentals. So just as an example, let's start with, for the lack of a better term, atypical team sports. This would include water polo, field hockey, or volleyball, among many others. These are not exactly mainstream sports, but they're not super unusual either, at least here in the USA. You might not necessarily know all the rules and nuances to the game, but you'll at least get the gist of it. You'll be able to follow the action enough without being totally lost. Photographers covering these sports know that they'll come away with a good photo from these events if they follow the 3 golden rules of sports photography. Namely, they're going to be looking for faces, for the ball, and of course, the struggle between multiple players. So all in all, it does end up being relatively easy. Now, of course, as these same photographers cover more and more of these games, their knowledge of the sport and timing will continue to improve, and their confidence level will improve as well. Additionally, they'll start working different and better angles to change the look in the takes, as well as clean up their backgrounds and create images that show more of a sense of place or the event. The very best photographers in the world do this because they're not just sports photography robots and cover only the action. They'll get that action, but do so in beautiful, creative, amazing ways. Now what about racing sports or individual sports? You just point and shoot, right? First one across the line or touches the wall wins, right? Easy peasy? No, not so fast. Okay, so honestly, sometimes it is that easy, but more often than not, this is going to be sort of like my tennis example in my Q&A from a few weeks before. Yes, you could just simply follow the action and push the shutter button, but is your photo going to be any good? Not necessarily. The background will be distracting and there will be no pop and no impact to your frame. You know those beautiful scenics that you see on television, or those perfect clean backgrounds, or those that show off that perfect Olympic signage? Yeah, that's not handed to the photographers on a platter. To be a truly exceptional photographer at the Olympics, you have to hunt and work for those backgrounds. Sometimes it may just be a simple matter of taking a few steps to your right or your left, or kneeling to get a lower angle. For example, this is the view from one of the photo positions at gymnastics back in 2008. What an ugly mess that is behind the athlete. Cameramen, a metal staircase? Talk about distracting. However, literally just 2 feet to my right and from a kneeling position, I was able to get this shot. A nice clean background with the bonus of Olympic signage to illustrate sense of place. This thought process can be repeated in just about every Olympic sport. Check out these shots that I took from the half pipe just 2 years later in Vancouver. From the designated photo position, look at this. It's a decent action shot, but the background is gross, unappealing, and distracting. I mean, seriously, what is that? A crash fence? A TV tower? I don't know. Instead, by just waiting patiently for the athlete to come down a little further into the half pipe, I was able to get much cleaner backgrounds and in some cases, that beautiful Olympic signage in the frame as well. So again, the very best sports photographers in the world don't just go out there and blindly hammer down on the action. They are always looking for ways to position themselves, sometimes even with just slight shifts of their body, to get the perfect angle and that perfect shot. And as you've seen, even such small adjustments or just waiting patiently has a drastic effect on their photos. So when you see photos being published from the Tokyo Olympics and see those amazing backgrounds and amazing scenics, just know that they aren't just handed to the photographers. Some of the photographers going to the Olympics are among the best in the world. They're always going to be in position to get that stunning action shot and reaction, but rest assured, they are always on the hunt to find the cleanest backgrounds and most interesting angles. So how does this all apply to your day-to-day sports photography back home? Easy. Again, it's one thing just to capture the action in front of you. And quite frankly, with the way that camera technology keeps evolving, I can probably give a monkey a Sony A1 or a Canon R3 and they'll be able to capture a sports picture. But again, will it be any good? No, I don't think so. Remember, the best sports photographers in the world draw on their experience and their knowledge to not only make the most meaningful and storytelling images of the game, but do so in a beautiful, illustrative way. They know who the star performers of a game are likely to be and know how to focus in on them in key situations. They know the best spots on the field to position themselves so that they can maximize their odds of capturing certain type of plays. And finally, they're not afraid to utilize changing lighting conditions or unique angles to present the game in beautiful, illustrative ways. It's no longer just straight up action, it's art. So one final time, just think about these tips next time you're out shooting a ball game. Think about your photo positions and where you are allowed to go. Is this the best spot that you could be in, or is there somewhere better? What's going on behind the action? Is it a bunch of parked cars? A metal staircase? Yeah, if so, I think it may be time to move to your left, right, or even up and down to get those distractions out of your frame. Anyways, thank you very much as always for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe. Hopefully I have some time to put together a few videos while I am out in Tokyo, so you'll want to be sure to also ring that notification bell so that you could be alerted as to when new videos are posted. Thanks again for watching, and I can't wait to see you all again next time. Sayonara!